Benchmarking in cybersecurity is like timing your own run when you're in a race with several other runners, then comparing your time to theirs to see how well you performed in comparison to them. To help you see how you're performing, where you might be lagging, and where you can actually excel. Just as they adjust your training based on your race time, in cybersecurity, you adjust your defenses and strategy based on benchmark results and standards. Benchmarks are industry-leading security configuration standards that define a minimum level of security that all systems must meet to match application security standards or regulatory requirements. NIST guidelines actually offer technical guidelines for federal agencies and other organizations. Let's go ahead and see what the NIST actually looks like. As we go to the Quick Start Guide, you can kind of see what the 5 different sections of the NIST really are. It takes you through the identify, all the way to protect, going into detect, to respond, and then finally to recover. These 5 different categories really take you through the life cycle of being able to understand what you need to focus on in cybersecurity. The NIST framework itself is for improving the critical infrastructure of cybersecurity. Currently, this was originally done in 2014 with a new update that was just submitted recently as of October. Next up, we have the CIS benchmarks, a set of practices for securely configuring a system. That could be a Linux system, it could be a Windows system, even Azure and AWS Cloud. The CIS comes out with benchmarks for Cisco, IBM, Palo Alto, and many, many different types of platforms. Let's go ahead and see what the CIS benchmarks actually have. If you go to the website, after you log in, you'll get access to the benchmarks themselves. Once you look at the published benchmark list, you can also go to benchmarks and refine exactly what you want to find. If we are looking for benchmarks for Azure, let's go ahead and say that right in here and search to see what we find in the filter. Notice we have all of the different benchmarks for Azure Linux, for different ones as well with Microsoft. Each one is going to be a standard that has been put through a review process, voted on, and finally greenlit by a community of people. Next up, let's look at the DoD Cyber Exchange. The DoD Cyber Exchange is going to give us what are called STIGs, Security Technical Implementation Guides. Let's go ahead and look at that. The Security Technical Implementation Guides on the website are going to be able to take you through all the different ones that are being published for Microsoft, Windows, Linux, and other tools. They come out every month, and so you can always go through just to see which ones they're actually reviewing and which ones are being made. Now let's talk about Security Content Automation Protocol, otherwise known as SCAP. Imagine you're trying to ensure the security of a large building with many rooms. Each room has various doors, windows, and vents. To keep the building secure, you want to set some guidelines, like which doors should be open, which doors should be locked, which windows should never be opened, or which vents need filters. Now, if you manage multiple buildings, ensuring each one is secure based on the standard set of guidelines can be a monumental task. This is where a protocol or a system that automates and standardizes these guidelines becomes critical. Security Content Automation Protocol, or SCAP, is a collection of these standards used by organizations to maintain the security of systems, specifically by finding and managing systems and software vulnerabilities in real time. SCAP acts like a cyber watchdog, automatically keeping an eye on security configurations and known vulnerabilities. The 2 current benchmark types widely used today are agent-based and agentless. Let's investigate the difference between them, including the pros and cons of each method. Agents are software installed on devices to monitor and protect them. They provide continuous surveillance and action. They identify and handle security threats in real time on individual devices. They ensure compliance and organizational security policies are always followed. Agentless solutions don't require software to be installed on each device. They're going to be less intrusive. Typically, they're going to have less impact on a system. Usually, They're going to also rely on network connections or flows to monitor and manage devices. They can scan vulnerabilities without needing direct access to a system. Together, these tools form a layered and cohesive approach to ensuring cybersecurity compliance by automating standardized configurations and customized security baselines according to specific regulatory requirements and operational best practices of an organization.